Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Or rather, hello. I'm gonna wait for people to show up to say hello, even though I already did like twice. So I'm having a blast. I have two stories that I can start with today. One is funny, and one is not funny at all. And I'm gonna let you choose which one you'd like me to start with. Hey, Tick. So you let me know, and we will go from there. I hi Justin. I went out to dinner last night for the first time in a very long time. Hi Joe. Hi Drake. Hi Diane. Hi Sherry. Hi Vasilka. Hi Kayla. How are you? So basically the funny story is if you so someone says funny one and they were the first one to say it, so that's just what I'm going to start with. So the funny story is, if you guys watched my live with John the other day where I was cooking and he was in the background, and then the next day he went to work, and as if you saw the live, you know that we have a Murphy bed in his dad's like apartment where we sometimes stay, and that Murphy bed is like super heavy. It's a California king bed, and I was trying to pick it up 3 times and something was preventing it from like closing at the top, so I couldn't do it. And you guys were like so terrified because that bed it's genuinely humongous. Like it wasn't gonna kill me, but it's really heavy. It's humongous. There is like a very particular center of gravity that I have to push on for it to for it to push on to push on it so it like closes, and technically I can push it up, but something was like, I think there was a pillow getting caught in it, thank you Eva, or something like that, and it just like wasn't closing. And so you guys were like terrified because it looked like the bed was about to like fall down on me and squish me. But point is, moral of the story is, today I woke up and my entire body like hurts, like I can't put my arms higher than this level, it's sore, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is what is happening? Like why is it so like uncomfortable, And then I freaking realized that I was putting up that bed and I am so out of god darn shape that the reason why my entire body hurts is because I tried to push a Murphy bed up twice. And so starting tomorrow morning, we're gonna we're gonna be doing exercises every day because while like I don't think there is anything wrong with like the fact, like I have no issues with my body or anything like that, but wow, at 28 years old, nobody should be experiencing severe muscle sore from like pushing up a bed twice. Like that's just really bad. Oh my god. Yeah, Kat says, to your defense, the bed was huge. I mean, it is huge. Don't get me don't get me wrong. Oh my gosh, there is some person here says, well, I mean, you do have an accent and that gives you away. What is it giving away? Please let me know what my accent is giving away. The fact that I'm Ukrainian, there is nothing to give away. Everybody knows. I'm sorry I ruined your remark, but I'm not trying to hide that I'm Ukrainian. I actually like being Ukrainian. You, on the other hand, I'm sure it must not be that fascinating to tell people that you're Russian. But I digress. Hi, Victor. Good to see you. But so yes, I do want it out. You know what? Yes, Kat, take it out. Thank you. I was going to say, you know what? No, it doesn't bother me. But then I realized, actually, we're not letting trolls stay anymore. Kayla says, congrats, you figured out she's Ukrainian, and everyone clapped. Yeah. But anyways, so basically, I was pushing that bed up. And to be honest, so, okay, I'm going to post, if you guys are subscribed to the YouTube, if you guys are subscribed to YouTube membership, which you can do on my channel. You can like join the channel. It's $9.99 a month. It does help me greatly, but you obviously don't have to. But on there, I basically post behind the scenes. And what I'm going to most likely do is I'm going to double the posts on Patreon and on YouTube membership, and they're probably going to be about in the same realm, but a little bit different. So it's easier to post videos on YouTube for behind the scenes, or maybe it's easier on Patreon. I have to figure it out, but I'm going to post that live and the live after. So I'm going to post the live with John, and then I'm going to post the live that happened after, where I was trying to push this Murphy bed, because like I fully understand that if you didn't see it, it's probably not nearly as funny as it is for the people that did see it. So I'm going to post it as behind the scenes on Patreon and on a YouTube subscription, so you guys can see it. But so yeah. But so yes, to the troll that says menopause, no, brain pause, however. What made you think I have menopause? Is that the fact that I look incredibly mature and amazing? Did that suggest that that experience for you? Also, I like don't know why trolls ever think that like, you know, saying like things about feminine reproductive health is supposed to be like somehow offensive. How is menopause offensive? Please enlighten me. I mean, I'm nowhere near menopause, because usually it doesn't happen till your early 40s at least, and I'm not even in my 30s yet. But how is that offensive? You tell me. Anyways, but so that was the funny story. I will be posting it on behind the scenes on YouTube subscriptions, and I will be posting it on behind the scenes on Patreon subscriptions. And if you find yourself wanting to subscribe to either, I will be incredibly appreciative and incredibly grateful, but obviously don't feel pressure to. Now, the not so nice story. If you follow me on Twitter, then you most likely know this story, but I'm going to elaborate on it a little more. So last night I went out to dinner. It was my best friend's birthday, and I absolutely I don't handle social outings very well lately. And as I said yesterday, I prefer to socialize with friends that I already know very well, because we won't have to catch up. I also know these friends, and I know they're not going to be asking like questions that could that could just be either very annoying to answer, or sort of or sort of difficult to answer, or something that I just don't want to deal with. That's one thing. And another thing is that like it's hard to be out in public and socializing, especially on a day like yesterday, because there were 70 airstrikes on Ukraine. It was like 70 airstrikes on Ukraine, and it's just sort of strange to sit there and enjoy your day and socialize and act like nothing's happening when like your country is being bombed. So yeah, I have a huge issue with socializing. I have a huge issue with going to social events. I really don't want to face whatever comments people are going to make, because it's usually two extremes. People are like either incredibly like disrespectful without meaning it, or people are on the other hand incredibly like worried and asking questions and stuff. And in both of these situations, I end up being the center of attention, and I don't want that. But so last night I went out to dinner. It was my best friend's birthday, and I'm going to put out a disclaimer that I didn't tell her what happened or how I felt about it. I ended up leaving early, although I could have stayed for drinks, but I was just like mentally exhausted. And also I like don't do well staying out late either lately. But there was a situation at the table that genuinely like made me want to die. just die. And I know the person didn't mean it that way, but that's basically what happens when you're absolutely not like thinking about how you say things. So she has a new boyfriend. He seems like a very nice guy. I have nothing really against him, but he said two things that were just so incredibly demeaning and so incredibly like upsetting that after that I was like ready to go home. But obviously I stayed because I love my friend, and it wasn't about me. It was her birthday. So I was just like, so I wasn't going to bring it up, nor was I going to talk about it. Probably I'm not even going to talk about it either way, but whatever. So we were talking about the war in Ukraine, and this guy went ahead and said something along the lines of, oh, by the way, I'm a huge fan of the war. Huge fan of the war. More weapons to Ukraine and all that. Like, I really support that. And you know, the more weapons to Ukraine did soften the blow, and I really didn't react to it in the moment. But don't ever say to a Ukrainian person, I'm a huge fan of the war. I understand that what he meant is like, you know, he supports Ukraine. But are you a huge fan of the war? Are you? Because I'm not. My parents live in it. I'm not a fan of the fact that I can't go to bed till 6 in the morning. I'm not a fan of the fact that I've developed insomnia and that my sleep schedule and life schedule is on like three different time zones that I can't handle. I'm not a fan of the fact that like I am virtually falling apart and I can't get my it together. I'm not a fan of the fact that I can't go to bed because I don't know what's going to happen to my parents tomorrow. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that, you know, my friend Yulia, who lives near Kyiv, is in constant danger. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that her kid can't go to kindergarten without her having a panic attack because she doesn't know if a missile is gonna hit that kindergarten. Are you a fan? What are you a fan of? You're a fan of the war that killed thousands of people and destroyed most of my country? That's what you're a fan of? Really? I know what he meant. Like, I know what he meant. I know he meant that he wanted to be nice and he wanted to say that he supports Ukraine and that he thinks that, you know, he thinks that we should be sending more weapons to Ukraine. And he most likely, because he doesn't know me very well, nor was I really present in any of my friends' lives this year for any of their boyfriends to really know that I'm from Ukraine and my parents live in Ukraine. And he probably doesn't understand that I'm not like, you know, an American with Ukrainian roots who maybe has some like distant family in Ukraine, right? Like, no. My family is in Ukraine. I was born and raised in Ukraine. It's not a freaking like, you know, it's not an identity crisis where I just want to help a country I've never been to. Like, no. I like my freaking family lives in it. And it was just such a, you know, I heard that and from there on out it's just like I didn't want to be there, you know. And it doesn't matter, like, I mean, I made some jokes afterwards and, you know, like I acted just as like the same as before, which is also difficult to do. um so, you know, it was just like not that pleasant. And then the same guy too, we were talking about the, you know, the fact that I talk about Ukraine on TikTok and stuff like that. And there was a friend of mine that I knew at the table who was sitting right next to me, and we were like all talking about it. And so I pulled out my phone and I showed the TikTok to this guy who's the new boyfriend. And then he says something, and I'm like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, well, wait, that was you? Am I the only person who just doesn't see no resemblance? Like, it is not the same person. Like, you do not look the same in person. And I was like, are you trying to say that I look worse in person? He's like, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. And I'm like, so what particularly about me doesn't look the same at the table in front of you as it does on TikTok? Like, why else would you say that? No one ever says, oh my gosh, you don't look at all like your video unless you mean that they look worse in person. And he was just like trying to get out of that situation really badly, right? And I was like, but like what to you doesn't look in this video as it does in person? And it's not like I had some sort of like makeup or I edit my videos. I don't. You know, like I don't edit my videos. I put subtitles on them. Like I have light here, a ring light, that's about it. And like I had pretty much the same makeup, like pretty much the same hair. And the video in question that I showed him wasn't even like me, like, you know, with done hair or anything. I had a freaking ponytail on. So it's like, you know, if you think that I look worse in person than that, then like that's actually offensive because I actually put effort into like looking decent for this dinner. And there I didn't. But thank you. Uh, and my friend, who's like such a sweetheart, you know, he's a friend of mine and I know him for a while. He was sitting right next to me and he was like, hey, you know what? But he was like trying to make it better, which, you know, like I appreciate it and it was very sweet of him, but also in my head only made it worse because he frantically started being like, oh, no, 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 you know, like, it's funny, but like my phone used to literally flood my FYP with your videos, and it was just like you and stuff like that all the time. And you know, like I know you both in like in real life and then on TikTok, and you know, you look the same. And I'm like, he's like, actually, you look better in person. And I'm like, okay, but that's not the point. You know, like, it's not the point. Like, it doesn't matter that some random dude that I met today, who's my best friend's boyfriend, thinks that, like, I don't know, I look horrible in person or whatever. It's just like, to me, it was more of like, who says that? And he like continued arguing it too. You know, he was like, no, am I the only person who just like doesn't see any resemblance? Like, this is not the same person. Like, this is not. And he just kept going with it too. And I'm like sitting there and I'm just like, oh my God, shut up. Just shut up. Like, the more you say, the worse you make it. It's just it was just so bad. And I don't know if he's just socially awkward or has like social anxiety or something, but it was just so like, it was just like, okay, you said this, obviously it didn't land well, just shut up. Don't keep going with it. Don't keep digging yourself a larger hole. Like, obviously nobody wants to hear that. Like, I have a pretty healthy self-esteem. It doesn't necessarily bother me, right? But it was like the whole thing. It was like the comment about being a fan of the war, and then comment about this, and it was just so like, it was just so bad. And I think he also later realized how bad it was, because then he continued like fangirling over Zelensky for a little while, and just sort of like, you know, making jokes about that, and to like, you know, make me comfortable and make sure that I know that he supports Ukraine and stuff like that. And I was just sort of like, this is just so bad, because this is exactly why I don't do social outings, because there's always going to be some random person who either wants me to know exactly how much they support Ukraine, and they put too much effort into being like incredibly overbearing with it, or they're just like so not mindful of their words that I end up in this situation where I have to be like, and it's like, you know, I at this point I fight trolls for a living, you know? Um I fight trolls for a living. And it's like, I don't, you know, like, I do this daily. I explain to people why it's incredibly inconsiderate to say this, and that. And like, and I don't, you know, when I'm trying to spend some time with my friends, I don't want to be in that situation. And the reason why I don't spend time anymore in like groups of people is because no matter how you turn it, I'm gonna end up in that situation. And I'm gonna end up in a situation where somebody says something, um something just like, you know, something like that, and it's just kind of incredibly gross. And yeah, and it's sad, you know, like, I don't want to be at my best friend's uh dinner talking to like a guy who said, explaining to a guy why saying I'm a fan of the war is so bad, so freaking bad, to somebody whose parents live in that war. No matter whether you meant it in a good way, in a bad way, in a supportive way, in a freaking like, I don't know, you were a war analyst expert way, I'm a fan of the war, said to someone whose parents live in a war, is incredibly tone deaf. So tone deaf, I didn't even know what to say, to be honest. And at first, like, when he said that, I was so confused. And then he went in with like the whole, oh, more weapons for Ukraine, I totally support that, blah blah blah. I was just like, what is this, a game for you? Oh my gosh, I'm such a huge fan of the war. Woohoo, go Ukraine. You're gonna win, guys. More weapons for Ukraine. Like, I mean, again, I fully understand the intention here was well meaning, but the outcome, you know, it's a new day, and I'm still thinking about it, and it still bothers me, you know? Because I'm thinking that there are many more people like him who think that, who are a fan of the war, you know? Cindy, who think that like supporting Ukraine and being a fan of the war is equally the same thing. And one of those is like a normal thing to say, and the other one is, oh, please shut up, Worthy. You know, like, I really hope that you will see what's wrong with what you just said. So yeah, so that was my evening. Also, my back hurts incredibly much because of this stupid Murphy bed. So yeah, if you want, to not like leave this on a crappy note, if you want to see, what broke the camel's back, or my back, I will post the video of the live, onto Patreon and onto YouTube subscriptions. Now, with that said, we're gonna start with the news for today. And yes, I do really need a Theragon, Theragon cat. I really need that thing. I don't know. We will see. I mean, maybe that's what I'm gonna ask for Christmas from John. But yeah. But so basically, okay. For those of you who are new, and I see there might be some new people, please stick around. Hi, my name is Yulia. I was born and raised in Lviv, Ukraine, and I moved to the United States 12 years ago, and I've been living in New York ever since. I am. Wait. Oh my gosh, sorry. I was born in Lviv, Ukraine, and I lived there until the age 16 for the past 12 years. I've been living in New York City. My entire immediate family, including my mom, my dad, my grandmas, my grandpa, and just everybody who's close and dear to me, lives in Ukraine. I'm the only one who lives in the United States out of my family. On this channel, we do lives every day except for Wednesdays and Sundays. And basically, what we do is we dissect all of the information that happened in and pertaining to Ukraine. And pertaining to Ukraine in the past 24 hours, we give a geopolitical, historical, and current events and otherwise context. I answer questions, we have a discussion and stuff like that, and basically it's just a space to learn more about Ukraine and understand more what's happening, coming from a perspective of someone who is very well versed in geopolitics and history of Ukraine, and also someone who grew up there. So it's easier for you to understand exactly why and how we ended up here, right? Not just like the news. And this live currently is live on 4 different platforms at the same time. It's TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter for now. Now, if you prefer any one of the platforms mentioned above more than the one that you found me on currently, you're welcome to look me up. My handle is the same everywhere except for TikTok, because my TikTok live streams are banned, trolls, and this is my backup. So my handle is YEWLEEA across all of the platforms, including TikTok. So if you wanted to find me on my main account on TikTok, where I have a lot of educational videos, then you would just drop it from my handle and go with Yulia. And same goes for YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. And also, I do highly recommend that you follow my YouTube because I release twice a week, midweek and end of the week summary of everything that happened in and pertaining to Ukraine. Oh, thank you, Natlin. Thank you so much. And basically, I do a twice a week summary about everything that happened during the week so far and in the past 24 hours in and pertaining to Ukraine. And it's under 20 minutes. So it's a short, it's called The Brief. And it's basically the news brief. And we have the midweek brief and the end of the week brief. And they are, they're just full of lots of different information and lots of basically like, it's just like a very quick dynamic rundown of everything you need to know. And Judy Mooney is asking, what is the name of YouTube? You can go in, if you don't want to look me up YouTube and that's difficult for you, what you can do is you can go into my link in bio attached to my profile. You can click on there, and that link in bio is going to bring you to a page that shows you all of my social media networks. And you can easily click on any one of them and find me. But this is my YouTube. This is what it looks like. I'm sure to everyone on YouTube, it's like, oh, you don't say. But for everyone who isn't yet, there you go. Hi, General Armageddon. Oh my gosh, I actually kind of like that. But yeah, so if you don't follow me on YouTube, please consider following me on YouTube. If you want to see all of my, basically, if you want to find me on all social media, I will show you a very quick shortcut in doing so. It's basically my link in bio. When you go in there, you will see that on this page, you have basically over here, you have all of my social media linked. So everything that I'm on, you can click on any one of these icons and it'll bring you to my page. So here I have an email where you can reach out to me, have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, Discord, and Medium, because I do write articles sometimes. So there is that. I do need to connect Twitch. No, is it Discord? Wow, yeah, I didn't connect my Twitch here. So, okay, well, almost all of my social media. You can also find a link to shopping Ukrainian brands that ship worldwide. You can find a link to my PayPal if you wanted to donate to a cause. There is a lot of useful information. There is also a video for a channel on YouTube for Ukrainian history that I highly recommend. There are my articles linked there, also a link to Monobank where you can donate to Ukraine. There is my playlist of Ukrainian music linked there as well. And also just, that's about it. I'm going to be adding more stuff on there because I think I need to rearrange things. But in the meantime, this is what it is. And it's pretty, it's pretty comprehensive. Thank you. And with that said, so I do very, very much appreciate all of your gifts, super chats, super stickers, and stuff like that. They are not expected and obviously not, thank you, Melissa, and obviously not, required or anything, but they are incredibly, incredibly appreciated because it does help me stay afloat, goes a very long way, and helps me bring the news to you every day. But again, please don't feel pressured. And with that said, while we do the news, one of the things that I've started doing recently is if you want your questions answered 100%, you are welcome to send a super chat because those things are very, very colorful and they pop up on the screen and it's really hard for me to miss them. That does not mean that I will not be answering your regular questions if you don't send them as super chats. Thank you, Kay. Oh, you're celebrating your son's birthday. That's so cool. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. But yeah, basically, but I will be answering questions either way, but sometimes if the chat moves fast, it's hard to see them. And if you want your question answered guaranteed, then super chat is the way to go. Yeah, super chats are much easier to see. They're like pink and green and yellow and stuff like that. Hi, Carlos. Okay, so we're gonna start with this really quick. Kayla says that my okay, I'm gonna look into the Theragun situation. I don't know why, it's very strange. Actually, well, let me see. That's very, very strange. Kayla, also, you really don't have to do that. Theragun Mini. Sometimes, on Amazon wish lists, if you put something in your wish list, there could be like this weird thing where it doesn't ship to your address because of God knows what, honestly, because an unknown reason, because I don't know, you just can't you can't do that. That's so weird. Okay, well, I mean, oh my gosh, thank you, Rosemary. Good to see you. I mean, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be beige. I found a beige Theragun and it doesn't ship to my address. Okay, well, the black one should ship, but it's just me being me. Of course, I would want something beige. Thank you so much, Raspberry, and good to see you. Welcome. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Chad. Hello. Oh, wow. Look at that. That looks like an award. They have them on Costco. Theraguns, yeah. I checked, though. They have the same prices as Amazon. It depends on if it's 1.0 or 2.0 or something like that. But anyways, this is not about the Theragun. This is about the news. So let's start from the news. Okay, so yesterday we ended at what did we end at? We ended at the Ukrainian soldier who's a father coming back home and his daughter being incredibly, incredibly excited to see him. Hi, Tommy. Good to see you. You're going to scroll past this live as usual, and I'm going to call you out. So, everybody, it's like, I hate when people do that to me when I like when I just enter someone's live and I'm like in bed and I'm just, whatever. And they're like, oh my gosh, hi, Yulia. And then everybody knows I'm there. But I do that to people too. So, can't really complain. But okay, so we're going to start strong with a video of a Ukrainian soldier digging a trench in, look at the. No, I know you were trying to help, Drake. I really appreciate it. You actually told me that like months ago or a month ago, and that's why I looked into it. And it was like the same, it was the same price. But okay, so this is a Ukrainian soldier digging a trench, and I highly recommend that you pay attention to weather conditions because I am like in awe anytime I see what our guys are doing in the front line because it's admirable. So I have to turn off the music because YouTube will tell me that they want to give all the monetization to the company who owns the rights to the music, and I'm like, no, sorry, I want to give 25% of the monetization to them. So no, no music company is going to be getting the revenue. Yeah, Jason. So Jason says, actually, I do. Jason says, depends on how you set it up. This is a Amazon. And if you're safe and hide your address, Amazon gives you less wish list shipping options. That's true, but that's the thing. That's why, my address is hidden. So that's why. But what are they doing? They're digging a trench. So here is also Ukrainian sappers diffusing a significant number of anti-tank mines. And this is what that looks like. Honey babes, we are going to go on a long walk when we are done with the news. He's digging a trench, John. Well, that's what happens. Yeah, they're digging frozen ground, which is so difficult. And it's, at this point, digging trenches is much more difficult than it was earlier in the year because the ground is freezing. It's not frozen yet, but it is freezing and it's snowing, as you might see. And it's, it's a difficult task and it takes much longer. So they have to be much more efficient in doing so. So also this is, Sammy, stop it. Stop it. I love you, but you gotta chill out. We're gonna go on a walk. You were not a very good girl today. And so come on, go. Stop. You were hurting me when you have claws. So this photo is titled The Foxhole Lullaby. And I think it's very powerful. You tell me what you think. But it's a soldier sleeping in a sleeping bag or like a cocoon in a at the war front. There is his I don't want to say the word because I don't know anymore how these platforms react to these words, but here is his tool, and this is him taking a nap in a trench in the middle of a frozen ground. No, I know that it's a trench, but this is a tool that he uses, and I don't want to name the tool. The pew-pew. And I think that this is such a powerful image that's worth more than 1,000,000 words. I love how people are still telling me what a trench is. I know what a trench is. I know that it's called trench. I wasn't talking about the trench. I was saying that I don't want to say pew-pew in the real word. So yeah, okay. Angelina Jolie today resigned as a UN Goodwill Ambassador for Refugees. I will continue to do everything in my power to support refugees and other displaced people. After 20 years in the UN system, I feel that it is time to work in a different way, directly interacting with refugees and local organizations, the actress commented on her decision. Honestly, I don't blame her, because we all know that organizations like the Red Cross, like the UN, you very often, those people that need aid the most don't see it. And when you as a celebrity raise money for those organizations, that money ends up fulfilling salary of diplomats, salaries of, like, of people who, the money should be going to the people who need it most. But it ends up going to fund hundreds of thousands of dollars of salaries of people in charge. So it's good for her. I think that she, on her own, without the UN, can raise so much more money and can make such a bigger impact directly to the people who need her the most. Power supply has been fully restored in Kharkiv region. Due to the Russian missile attack, residents of the region spent almost a day without electricity. During his planned visit to Minsk, Russian President Vladimir Putin intends to put pressure on Belarusian ruler Alexander Lukashenko to make concessions on the integration of the two countries. This opinion was expressed by analysts of the American Institute for the Study of War in a report for Friday, December 16th. The visit to Minsk may also indicate that Putin is trying to create conditions for a renewed offensive against Ukraine, possibly in the north of the country or in Kyiv in the winter of 2023, experts write. Institute for the Study of War currently assesses the risk of a Russian invasion of Ukraine from Belarus as low but possible. So what Dmytro Kuleba, he's our foreign minister, he also believes that Russia is preparing a major offensive in 2023. He said that, like, he's not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but it does look like it might. And however, one of the things that our defense minister and a lot of our commanders and Zaluzhny in general said that, here's the thing. Even if they do start an offensive coming from Belarus, it's not going to change a lot on the front line. What it's going to do is just going to delay victory for a couple of weeks or maybe months, which is unpleasant, right? And a lot more people are going to die. But in the general scheme of events, it's not going to accomplish anything. It's just going to have a stalling effect. Which is still not obviously optimal, because no one wants to die to stall someone. It's just such an evil war. But realistically, in terms of like front lines and in terms of like the warfare, it is not going to be. It is not going to change much, even if this offensive does happen. And also, the border with Ukraine and Belarus is mined up out of the wazoo. It's so reinforced. There are so many trenches dug out. There is a wall being built. There are mines everywhere. So if they were to try and come into Ukraine from the Belarusian side, they would have a very hard time, and most likely most of their troops would just be cannon fodder for that matter. CIA Chief William Burns believes that Russia is not ready for real negotiations. He also believes that Russian President Putin's belief that he will be able to continue the war for a long time and nothing will stop him is mistaken. I think he's wrong to make this bet, just as he was wrong, deeply wrong, to make the bet on February 24th when he started this war. Exactly. It's kind of silly to me when, foreign leaders and like foreign analytical figures of like high magnitude go, I believe that he's not ready to start negotiations. And I believe that he's very mistaken in his belief that he's capable of doing this, this, and that. Like, of course he's mistaken. Of course he's not capable to continue the war, because it's like right now, sure, he has like the production capability of this and that. With more sanctions, with more time, with more poverty hitting Russia, with more people getting upset at the mobilization, with all of that, like conditions are going to change. Like this is a very malleable situation. It's very fluid. It's not like set in stone, like, they can do this and that's it, right? Like it changes every day based on like a lot of economic factors, based on a lot of like weather factors, based on a lot of human factors. Like there's so many things that are just changing. So yeah. The enemy is withdrawing part of its troops from Kakhovka and Novokakhovka in Kherson region to the area of Nizhny Sirohoze. Servicemen spread information among local residents that Kakhovka will be abandoned by Russian troops by the end of this year, according to General Staff. Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the ruse. Air alert was heard almost all over the country today. Take a look. The only regions that did not have air raid sirens today were Odessa, Sumy, Rivne, and Ternopil. So I will show it to you on the map. So it's Odessa, Sumy, Rivne, and Ternopil. Central Ukraine, Western Ukraine, Southern Ukraine, or Central Northern Ukraine, Western Ukraine, Southern Ukraine. Belarusian Hayun Hajun announces the launch of MiG-31K fighters in Belarus. Biden administration asks Congress to allocate another $38 billion to Ukraine, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan reports. The day before the missile attack on December 16th, the Russians used Iranian drones to detect the location of Ukrainian air defenses and adjust the missile attack. This is done in order to find out where exactly those Shaheds were shot down, where exactly our air defense got them. Because Shahed is shot down at night, and first of all, it's done by anti-aircraft missile systems. It is clear that they determine their location and then make adjustments for their missile attacks, explained Yuri Ignat, spokesman for the Air Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Then, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz does not rule out further talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the end of the Russian war against Ukraine. Thank you, Kay. Oh, really? He doesn't rule them out? That's wild. That's wild to know because, literally everybody in the world has come to terms with the fact that peace is not going to come through negotiations because Putin just wants to blackmail people and put forth his conditions, which include invading parts of Ukraine. So, what peace talks? Peace negotiations are not going to bring anything but a stalemate for a while until they regroup and start again. Scholz suggested this possibility in a conversation with the Süddeutsche Zeitung, which was published in the issue for Saturday, December 17th. Our goal is for Russia to stop its aggressive war and for Ukraine to defend its territorial integrity. The head of the German government said, "To do this, we need to talk," the chancellor explained. "We will see whether it will happen by phone, video, or at a long table," Scholz added. Moscow must realize that this cannot go on, the head of the German government noted. According to him, Putin must stop the war, withdraw troops, and thus create an opportunity for understanding. Scholz pointed to the high probability of escalation against the background of Russia's failures on the battlefield. See, it's funny because he still talks about negotiations with Russia, but he has changed his tune a while ago to like, oh, but on Ukraine's terms. Oh, negotiations with Russia, but no. I mean, like, they have to withdraw their troops. But the thing is, Russia doesn't hear that. Russia doesn't hear that they're saying, oh, you got to withdraw the troops, right? All Russia hears is negotiations. You're willing to talk to us. So you're still scared of us because you're still ready to talk to us instead of showing us the way out. And so all of these politicians talking about, oh, negotiations of peace, we're not ruling them out, but only on Ukraine's terms, that still doesn't really, it doesn't send any messages to Russia other than, oh, they still want to talk to us. You know, they haven't reached the point where they're so done with us that they're not going to listen anymore. They're going to show us the way out. They're still okay with talking. So this is really not helpful. Like, I trust that Olaf Scholz knows this, provided how close Germany was with Russia before the invasion, right? And even during the first months of the invasion. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, loyalty. Even during the first months of the invasion, it would be shocking to me that Scholz doesn't know that saying these things only results in Putin hearing, oh, they're still okay with talking with me, instead of showing me exactly where I should go. And that is, to hell. So yeah, this situation is really not helping. It's only making things worse. And it is not lost on me that Olaf Scholz definitely knows this. Germany will help to restore 8 high voltage substations in the south and west. The press service of NPC Ukrenergo. Thank you, Chad. Thank you for the snowman. The restored substations will be modern and modernized, automated, will require a minimum of personnel, will meet the requirements of ENTSO-E. So I also wanted to talk about something. So Ukraine has taken some steps towards Euro integration that are incredibly important. I don't know if I said this in my previous newscast, but basically, we have recently voted on a law that would legalize minority rights and would put them in and codify them in law. So basically, we have lots of national minorities in Ukraine and they have all the rights, but they are not codified in the law, right? So countries like Hungary like to say that, oh, Ukraine is like not giving rights to Hungarians in Ukraine, which is not true. So basically, one of the conditions of EU integration was that we codify national minorities, define exactly who these national minorities are, and define all of their rights and codify them into law so their rights are equal to everybody else's, to the majority, right? Ukraine voted yes on this resolution, and this resolution is now going to be a law. And Ukraine is going to define exactly who the national minorities are, like the Romas, Crimean Tatars and stuff like, and not stuff, and national minorities like that, right? And it's a very big deal. It's a very big law. It's an amazing law. One of the laws that Ukrainians are incredibly mad about is that basically the European Union wants to divide the power of appointing constitutional court judges between different branches and independent experts from the European Union to form a commission. Ukrainian deputies want these judges to be appointed by the president. And there is a bill that was introduced in the Verkhovna Rada, which I hope is not going to pass, to basically codify the presidential power of appointing these constitutional judges. And I don't want that. Most Ukrainians don't want that. We want our constitutional judges to be appointed by both the president, the parliament, the European independent experts. We want our constitutional court to be an entity that does not just follow the president's lead or has the possibility of bribery and corruption and stuff like that. Because if they're appointed by the president, there is a lot of opportunity for that. And I'm not going to tell you a story, right? The full story. And I'm not going to name any names or anything like that. But today, someone very close to me, someone that I really love, someone who is, who's a friend, told me a story about a family member of one person who is running to be a constitutional judge. And that person's son is doing something incredibly, incredibly horrendous, right? And here's the thing. The son is not being stopped. So obviously his father is going to be talked to, because if this comes out and if the person does what they want to do, then this man's reputation is screwed, right? So at the end of the day, basically he needs to be held accountable, right? And obviously this is concerning someone that I really love, who is who is a very, very dear person to me. So of course I want everything to happen the way that guarantees their safety and their happiness. But here is the thing. Whether that kid does something or not, that man should not be a constitutional court judge. Because if their child feels like they could do what they're currently doing, again, I'm not going to say what it is, because it's not my story to tell. But if their child is doing what they're doing, then that person raised that child in a household where that was acceptable. And obviously they know, because they see the personality, they see what's happening, right? This is not the first time. And they're not doing anything about it. I don't want that person to be a constitutional court judge. And that's why processes like multiple independent experts are good, because just the president is just one person, and you can fool the president even into thinking that you are a good candidature. So even if we put corruption aside, even if we put too much power for one person aside, it's one person who decides this, not a whole area of independent experts. So yeah, but for me, it's like, whatever the situation is, I think that the man should not be a constitutional court judge, and that's incredibly upsetting that his offspring is allowing themselves to do exactly what they're doing. And maybe one day you will find out what it is, maybe you won't. But it's just not my story to tell. But when I was listening to this story today, of course, my main priority and my main concern was the person who was telling me this story. But my second concern was, Jesus Christ, no matter how this resolves, this man should not be on the constitutional court if this is an offspring that he raised and he is like okay with, Okay. So CIA sees no clear evidence of Russia's plans to use tactical nuclear weapons. I think that the rattling of weapons is intended to intimidate, says the director of the department. According to him, the United States made it very clear to the Russians what serious risks the use of nuclear weapons will have. So the CIA has been doing deep analysis of whether Russia is actually, like trying to talk nuclear weapons because they might use them, or whether they're just using it as like bait, as a control tactic, as a tactic of just scaring West into submission, as like a bargaining card. And according to the CIA's research, it does look like Russia is quite literally using nuclear weapons as a card for negotiation, intimidation, and just, blackmail. So, as I've said priorly, it doesn't look, from any single service that has done an investigation on this matter, it does not look like Russia was ever planning on seriously using nuclear weapons. They are planning, however, on using nuclear weapons as a bargaining chip. The symbolic Christmas tree of invincibility is almost mounted and decorated on St. Sophia Square. This year, the main Christmas tree of the country is artificial. It's 12 meters high. It will be decorated with energy-saving garlands that will glow from the generators. So this is the Christmas tree in Kyiv. Thank you, Rebecca. The main Christmas tree. And it's kind of, symbolic that the day that it was being put up, it was incredibly foggy and moody. And that just sort of, shows exactly the situation in which Ukraine is right now. The enemy hit Kramatorsk with missiles at night. The mayor showed the consequence. On the night of December 17th, Russian troops carried out a missile attack on Kramatorsk in Donetsk region, damaging civilian infrastructure, according to preliminary data, without casualties. Photos of the destruction were published by the mayor of Kramatorsk, Alexander Honcharenko. Take a look. Oh, sorry. So here's the thing. So Jason says, which as Erevosis repeatedly says, is why the West, especially the US, needs to stop bringing it up and acting scared about it. This is what I repeatedly say too, because if you show Putin that you're scared about his nuclear rhetoric that is meant to scare you, then he is going to see that that rhetoric works and he's going to use it more. If you show him that you don't give a single F, then he's not gonna continue using it because he understands that it's useless. Also, they're quite literally only doing that to scare us. And then Hydrocarbon says, I think we got a lot closer to them using nukes than we would like. A month or so ago, when the USA suddenly started talking about nukes and telling Russia no, kind of out of the blue, since Russia had been threatening since the start. So I want to say something to that. First of all, we didn't get closer to them using nukes than we would like to. That's not what happened. Here's the thing: Russia was not close to getting nukes, to using nukes. Russia was talking about nukes and threatening with empty threats. Now, all of the nuclear facilities are mapped out in the world. So if Russia was trying to use nukes, they would be preparing those nukes, and we would know way ahead of time that Russia would be using nukes. Also, here is the thing: when Biden said, like, oh, we're the closest to nuclear war we have been since, like, whatever. Yeah, of course. It's like, here's the thing: there was no mention of nuclear war beforehand for decades. And now there was a mention of nuclear war. The likelihood of it happening is, like, very, very low, but that's still more than not at all, which the likelihood was, to be fair, beforehand. But also with the same logic, you could say that Putin could have started a nuclear war at any point in the past, like, 20 or so years that he has been in power, because these threats today carry about the same weight as no threats, and Putin just not liking something the US does, right? That's one. Two, the reason why everybody started talking about nuclear war and nuclear threats is because Putin's cronies and Putin's army were noticed near the nuclear facilities, right? So you see on the map, on satellite imaging, that there are army men going to the nuclear facilities, right? So that's how people figure out when somebody's preparing a nuclear threat. But it later turned out that they were taking out the nuclear missiles from the nuclear facilities, taking nuclear warheads off of them, and then sending those weapons without nuclear warheads as missiles onto Ukraine, because they were running out of missiles. So that's why there was so much jazz around that's why there was so much ground around all of this stuff. But they weren't actually taking nuclear weapons. Like, they weren't preparing nukes to use the nukes. They were preparing nukes to use them without the nuclear warheads, because they're desperate and they are running out of missiles faster than they can say nukes. And another thing is, Russia is not stupid. Using nukes is mutually assured destruction, right? Putin wants his empire. He doesn't want to die. Yeah, he's crazy, sure, but that's the thing. Russia continues using this rhetoric where it's like, oh, but he's crazy, right? But first of all, I've explained it so many times. In Russia, sending nukes doesn't work the same way as it does in the United States. The president doesn't just push the red button and then the nuke gets sent out, right? There are 9 other people in the chain of command that decide whether they want to go through with that order or no before the nuke gets launched. So Putin might be crazy and suicidal, but his generals are not going to be. First of all, he's losing his ground and his standing in his country faster than he can say nukes. No one is going to die for his vendetta. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if a person likes him or something, they're not going to send a nuke because they know it's going to kill them. Because they know it's going to kill them. And who is going to try? Like, it takes a certain kind of person to just be like, yeah, let's end the world. That's all. And then again, the US, let's say they use tactical nukes. The US said that their response of NATO is going to be crucial, and Russia knows that they can't take on NATO. They can't take on NATO. So using a tactical nuke in Ukraine actually does more damage to them than it does to Ukraine or to anyone else to use that nuke, right? And using an actual nuke, like a large scale, like weapons of nuclear destruction against the US or something like that, is just not going to fly, because they're not stupid. And they know that exactly what they're trying to do is they're trying to fool you into thinking that they're crazy enough that they would do it. But they're not. They're not trying to kill humanity. They're trying to gain more territory. Someone who wants to gain more territory and restore an empire is not going to kill his empire. Like, there's so many things that are just critical thinking that honestly show this. And it's like, it's really like upsetting how many people really focus on nuclear rhetoric, because that's exactly what it's meant to do. It's meant to make you focus on it and forget logic. And it's working. NSDC Secretary Alexei Danilov said that Ukraine will return Crimea and does not need anyone permission to do so. I can say the trenches will definitely not help them. Crimea will be returned in the way our military and political leadership decides. If we need to fight for Crimea, we will fight for Crimea, and we will not ask anyone. This is our land, and it must be returned home, Danilov said. Yeah, it's funny because there are lots of countries who are like, oh yeah, we think that Ukraine should return Crimea militarily if they can. Like, we support that. We would allow that. It's like, we would not ask you for permission. It's the same as Donetsk and Luhansk. There is nothing different there than Donetsk and Luhansk. It's still our territory. You are not trying to give us permission to return Donetsk and Luhansk. You obviously see why we would do that. It's the same with Crimea. Also, I see that more people joined, so I'm going to do the break. So I'm going to do the quick rundown again. Hi, my name is Yulia. I've been living in New York for the past 12 years, but I have been born and raised in Lviv, Ukraine, and I've lived there until I was 16 years old. My whole immediate family lives in Lviv today, and that includes my mom, my dad, my grandmas, my grandpa, and my aunt. I'm the only one out of my family who lives abroad or in the United States. And on this channel, every day we do news about that come out from and pertaining to Ukraine for the past 24 hours. We break them down, give them geopolitical and historical context, and otherwise context too, according to current events. Hi, Lucy's love. And this stream right now is airing on 4 different platforms at the same time. That is TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So if you prefer any one of the platforms mentioned above to the one that you found me that you currently found me on, you can easily search me up by typing in YEWLEEA. My handle is the same across all social media except for this is my backup TikTok account. So because my live is banned temporarily on my main account because trolls love me. So my handle is basically what you see on TikTok without its. And you can find me on YouTube easily that way. Or if you are lazy and you don't want to look me up, which is totally understandable, you can just go to my profile and click my, oh my gosh, my link in bio. And in that link in bio at the top, there is going to be my profile picture. And under it, there is going to be every single social media that you can find me on. And you can just click on its icon and it'll bring you straight there. Now, I will really, really ask you to please follow me on YouTube, not only because it'd be very great and helpful for me, but also because on YouTube, twice a week, I post short, brief media news summaries. They're called the brief, midweek, and end of the week. And they basically summarize everything important that happened in Ukraine in the week during the week so far, and everything important for the past 24 hours under 20 minutes. So it's super quick and efficient way to catch up on everything you need to know about the recent events in Ukraine news-wise on any given week. So I post that. There are interviews with Ukrainian defenders. There are a couple of news segments coming out soon as well. And basically YouTube is just like going to be a hub for explanations and for news and for stuff like that. While on TikTok, I post short educational videos and responses to people's crazy madness and Russian propaganda, while also giving you information about history and stuff like that. So yes, now let me see. There is a lot going on YouTube, and I will catch up with the comments in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to continue with the news. As a result of the strike on Kryvyi Rih, which, let me remind you, is a city where Zelensky was born and raised, on December 16th, the death toll rose to 5. One of the wounded died in the hospital, Suspilne reported on Saturday, citing doctors. Another wounded man is in the polytrauma department in moderate condition. 2 women are in the department of maxillofacial surgery. All have been operated on, the doctor told the publication. Earlier that day, the body of a 1.5-year-old boy was pulled out from under the rubble of a house in the city. His parents also died. Russian world. Moldova silenced pro-Russian TV channels. The National Commission for Emergency Situations of Moldova has suspended the broadcasting license of 6 TV channels. The reason is biased and manipulative coverage of events in Moldova and the war in Ukraine. These are Primul in Moldova, RTR Moldova, Accent TV, NTV Moldova, TV6, and Orhei TV. Ukraine is preparing for Russia to try to invade again from the north. Perhaps it will happen in February on the anniversary of the first failed attempt of Russians to capture Kyiv. The commander of the Operational Command South, Major General Andriy Kovalchuk, said this in an interview with Sky News. Thank you, Santa Monica, California. Good to see you. Hi. He stressed that the Ukrainian military mined some territories and prepared reliable defense in some areas. It will no longer happen that they, Russians, will just come in as it was on February 24th, Kovalchuk said. It's also crazy to think that this February on the 24th is going to be 12 months. It's going to be a year of war in Ukraine. It's really hard to stomach. 2 more children returned from the occupied territories. As you know, Russia kidnaps children and then puts them up for adoption in Russia. Kidnaps Ukrainian children and then puts them up for adoption. According to the Ministry of Reintegration, the return of 11-year-old Mark and 18-year-old Danilo was fought for almost 2 months. The boy's mother was released from Russian captivity during the women's exchange. Since then, Ukraine has been working on the evacuation of her sons. So 2 of them came back home. A warehouse of a confectionery factory is on fire in Vladivostok today. The fire area is 2,000 square meters. So there have been all of these crazy fires in Russia. And, most of them are usually at facilities that pertain to the military. And then there was one at a shopping mall and one at like a plastic factory. And now there is one at a confectionery factory, which, see, anytime there is a fire at this like random location that sounds completely unrelated to the military, I think that it was probably converted to an ammo base or something like that, because otherwise, why put a confectionery factory on fire? Because you could, because you could easily set something more valuable on fire. And it's obvious that this series and strings of fires are targeting military infrastructure, right? The head of the Polish police, Yaroslav Szymczyk, who was hospitalized after the explosion at the headquarters in Warsaw, told about the details of this incident. According to him, one of the gifts he received during his working visit to Ukraine on December 11th, 12th exploded. The gift came from the head of the National Police of Ukraine, Ihor Klimenko. It was a used anti-tank grenade launcher that was used to fire at Russian tanks. The weapon was turned into an audio speaker. According to one of the members of the Polish delegation, Klimenko even played music on it to demonstrate how it works and assured that there were no explosives. The second gift Szymczyk received from the deputy head of the State of Emergency Service, Dmytro Bondar. It was an identical grenade launcher tube too. According to RMF24 sources, the Polish delegation returned to Warsaw by car, and Szymczyk left the gifts in the back of his office. According to the general, he moved one of the grenade launchers vertically, and then there was an explosion. So I don't know if there was some sort of malfunction, but I'm sure that like our sappers have checked it, so carefully and so thoroughly, that maybe someone did try to put an explosive in there afterwards, but also accidents happen. But at the same time, it's interesting. It depends on whether someone had access to the back of his office or something like that. Well, I'm really curious to see where this investigation leads, but I'm happy that he is in a decent enough shape that he can actually talk and recount the events. So that means that he's getting better. Russia has received a new batch of Shahed 136 drones from Iran, but this batch is probably smaller than previous deliveries. Representative of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, Andriy Yusov. Thank you, user. Russians launched 5 missile strikes on Saturday, advancing in 2 directions, General Staff report. In particular, civilian infrastructure of Druzhkivka and Kramatorsk, Donetsk region, came under fire. Russians also fired a mortar at the humanitarian aid headquarters in the suburbs of Kherson. 1 woman died from her wounds. 2 more people are in a hospital. U.S. tried to prevent Ukraine from killing Russian Chief of General Staff during his visit to Ukraine's war zone, says New York Times. We said, hey, this is too much. The message came too late. The Ukrainian military told the Americans that they had already launched an attack on the general's position. Dozens of Russians were killed in the strike, officials said. It's very interesting because that strike, it is, what do you mean we tried to say that this is too much? So killing Ukrainian people every single time, every single day, in thousands is not too much. But Ukraine taking out a Russian chief of general staff is too much. That's interesting. What an interesting scale. So on what scale do we judge what's too much and what isn't? Like, I wonder what is the arbitration here. The New York Times, also the New York Times has been saying some things that are very, very, very problematic. Their titles have been incredibly problematic. Their articles have been incredibly problematic, not only about Ukraine, but also about Twitter, about Elon Musk and stuff like that. And it's good morning. And it's one of those things where, if I were you, I'd be very cautious of New York Times and what they have been putting out recently, because it does seem to echo not only Russian propaganda, but also like far-right propaganda in a lot of ways. The New York Times showed a detailed plan of the Russians' movement to Kyiv provided by the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine. The document shows that the first column of Russian OMON and Sober units were heading to Kyiv. According to a Russian serviceman stationed in Belarus on February 23rd, he learned that he was going to war an hour before his unit started marching. The order was both simple and extremely optimistic. Follow the vehicle ahead and reach Kyiv within 18 hours. According to the timetable and the unit's logbook obtained by the publication, the first vehicles in his convoy were to leave Belarus and arrive on the outskirts of Kyiv by 14:55, even sooner than the soldier had been told. Slava Ukraini. These documents were reviewed by 3 independent military analysts and found to be authentic. Zelensky says electricity was restored to 6 million Ukrainians per day. There are big problems with water, however. Representatives of the Scout organization Plast handed the Bethlehem Fire to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny. At this time, the Bethlehem Fire is the future light for the armed forces, which will be called simply Victory. So, Boy and Girl Scout organization Plast is it's very interesting because I think it's much more popular outside of Ukraine among Ukrainian diaspora than it was in Ukraine, and it was kind of like dorky to be in Plast. I would say, but recently, actually, they've gained a lot of popularity again because they were always incredibly like pro-Ukrainian, and they thank you so much, thank you, and they were always very much so concentrated on explaining to kids why being friends with Russia is really not a good go based on history and based on everything we've experienced, and stuff like that. So yes. Yeah, thanks for removing that troll. I was gonna say something, but I figured not. Any fire in Russia that is reported outside of Russia will be thought of as anyone just as we are now. It's also why if Ukraine did it, they don't admit to it. Makes everyone wonder, and that's really bad for those inside Russia. Yeah, so here is actually a very great observation by Jason. And it says, in all honesty, any fire in Russia that is reported outside of Russia will be thought of as anyone just as we are now. It's also why if Ukraine did it, they don't admit to it, makes everyone wonder, and that's really bad for those inside Russia. Well, yeah, Ukraine is playing the guessing game where Russia doesn't know what our capabilities are. Even if it wasn't a fire that we caused or an explosion that we created, right? Like, it's good for Russia to not know whether we have the range, because then they're left wondering and guessing, right? So Ukraine, even if it's a fire that we absolutely had nothing to do with, we're not going to say we didn't have anything to do with it, because it's actually good if Russia thinks we might or might not, or might or might not. Thank you, Alex. It's strategy. It's information warfare. Okay, Christmas tree in Kyiv, December 17th, photo by AP. Nothing incredibly extravagant this year. Just a photo. Just a Christmas tree with a trident on top of it, with doves flying on it, and with a tiny little bit of light coming from a generator. It's not sad. It's actually, I think, hopeful, and it would be more sad if they decided to spend a budget on a lit up Christmas tree, the budget that could go towards fixing problems. UK confirms delivery of Brimstone 2 high precision missiles to the armed forces of Ukraine, as per UK Ministry of Defense. Okay, so this is what average Russian citizens view the West as. And I'm going to show you this video, but right after I read this to you. Hi, Nicole. Every death is a tragedy, a family who will never be the same. Nina cries over the body of her 15-year-old son, Artem, killed by a Russian strike in Kharkiv. So this is a very tragic photo of exactly what happens in Ukraine and what Russians are doing. This is a 15-year-old boy over there on the ground, and he's no longer with us. And it's his mother crying over what happened. And that is the Russian world. That is the Russian liberation, okay, that came to Ukraine to liberate Ukrainians. Their lives. Quite liberate Ukrainians from the world. That's the only thing they came to do. Hey, Mike, good to see you. And with that, I'm going to show you, I like to have a category called Russian Madness. And that is basically how Russians view the West and what Russians like to say.
5 полов вместо мужского и женского. У них публичные дома для зоофилов. Они узаконили педофилию. Они теперь в стадии рассмотрения закон о признании нормы инцеста. Ребенок, например, в ЕС в 3 года должен выбрать себе пол. Если ребенок себе пол в 3 года не выберет, значит, ребенка из семьи ювенальная юстиция изымает и отдает их в семьи гомосексуалистов.
So, if you didn't understand what's happening here, this woman is trying to say that this is what's happening in the United States and in the West, and that this is what she heard on the Russian media, and this is what Russian media is trying to say is happening in the West. And people are saying, oh, like Veronica just said, she's nuts. That's the thing, that's what a lot of Russians believe. They don't think it's nuts. They think that this is what's happening in America and in the EU. That a kid at 3 years old, first of all, it's so comical to me. A kid at 3 years old has to choose its gender. And if the kid doesn't choose the gender, they get taken out of their family and sent to a homosexual family. Because, of course, being raised by 2 dads or 2 moms is just like the worst punishment a 3-year-old could have, right? Why is it like, it also does like it's incredibly stupid, right? It's incredibly stupid, the propaganda that Russians believe and stuff like that. It's quite frankly crazy. It's quite frankly crazy that they would believe that, right? But it also shows their true nature in a way where like the reason why it's so bad is because these kids are going to end up in a family of homosexuals. And that's not propaganda. That's what Russians believe is awful. It's like, oh no, these kids are going to be punished by being sent to a family, right? And it also makes no sense. Like, why would kids be punished for not choosing their gender? Like, it's crazy. Yeah, better to have 2 dads or 2 moms that love you than one of either that doesn't. Well, here's the thing. It's like, It's not better or worse. It's fine. Like, it's okay to have two dads. It's okay to have two moms. It's okay to have one mom. It's okay to have a mom and dad. It's okay to have a dad, right? It's okay. All of this is okay. Like, no one is better or worse at raising kids. Like, the only thing that is not okay is ending up with parents that are just not qualified to be parents and should never have been parents. It's better to have either gender of parents that love you than to have parents that don't. And like, it's great to be in a loving family of two dads. It's not good to be in a not loving family of two dads. It's great to be in a loving family of two moms. It's not good to be in a not loving family of two moms. It's great to be in a loving family of a mom and dad. It's horrible to be in a not loving family of a mom and dad. It's great to be in a loving family of a single gay dad or a single dad, but it's not great to be in a not loving family of a single dad, right? Same goes for moms. And that's like the thing where, like, it doesn't matter whether, it doesn't matter what type of family you are being raised in, as long as it's a loving family. The only bad thing is if you end up with people who are awful. So yeah. So yeah, there is that. There is that. Yeah, family is family, exactly. But also, like, I can tell you why Russians think that way. It's like, I have an acquaintance who thinks that his children are not going to be gay because he's going to raise them right. Okay? And if they do turn out gay, then he failed in raising them right. And I'm like, okay, what if your kids are gay? And he's like, they're not going to be. I'm not going to let it happen. And I'm like, okay, well, you're the problem, right? Because it's not about, you can't raise your kids to not be gay. Like, it's not how it works. And he was like, well, if they do end up gay, then, well, that's on them. They're just stupid. What can I do? And I was like, oh man, I can't even explain to this person how wrong he is, right? I can't, like, there is like no way of explaining to this person how wrong they are. And I was trying to explain to them, I'm like, well, here's the thing. You don't choose, like, you meet two women, right? Like, he's straight, obviously. Like, you meet two girls, one's I don't know, one's Ashley and one's Jennifer. You don't choose whether you're attracted to Ashley or Jennifer. Like, you are just attracted to either one of them because you are, right? And you can't raise yourself. Your parents couldn't have raised you to be attracted to Jennifer over Ashley if you're attracted to Ashley. Jennifer is not your type. And he's like, it's different. Jennifer is not a man. And I'm like, sure. Sure. But the whole point is, it's not about gender. It's about the fact that here is what you are attracted or not attracted to. You don't choose whether you're attracted to men, women, or both. You don't choose whether you're attracted to Dan or Brad. Also, why am I naming these people the whitest names on the planet? You don't choose whether you're attracted to Dan or Carlos. You don't choose whether you're attracted to Melissa or Fabiola. You don't choose whether you're attracted to I don't know, Ashley or Hinako. You don't choose any of those things. Like, it's innate. It's so, it's so crazy to me. But yeah. But yeah. Дуже вам дякую. Привіт. So yeah, so it like baffles me, and I find it so funny when these like hyper machismo Eastern European dudes are like, my kid's not gonna be gay because I'm gonna raise them to not be gay. I'm like, okay, well, see, I'm not planning on being a parent. I don't want children, but I feel like I have to stay, but I have to stay being, being in this kid's life, because if that's the parenting that you want to perform on them, then I want to be in this kid's life so they have a person in their life who tells them, you know what, the problem is not you, the problem is your dad. Just FYI. And like, I'm really sorry that that's the case, and I tried my best to explain to your dad exactly why he is wrong. But you know, but lost case, and is not going to happen. So I just wish you patience, and anytime you want to scream into the abyss, you can come to my apartment and scream into the abyss. So yeah. Hi, Thailand. Yeah, exactly. I don't care what gender one prefers as long as they're happy. Exactly. And it's like, this is another sort of form, just a more extreme form of like, just a more extreme form of like parental control, right? It's like you want your child to be what you want them to be, and you fail to acknowledge that they're an individual with their own dreams and expectations and desires and goals and stuff like that, and imposing like what happiness is onto your kid and being like, well, I just want you to be happy, that's why I'm like over controlling freak, right? It's like, well, you are not making me happy, right? This is not what makes me happy. And like, you wanting me to be a lawyer or a doctor or I don't know, fit or whatever, doesn't mean that that makes me happy. That's what would make you happy if I wear these things. But I am an individual, right? And it's the same as like crazy parents being like, oh, well, I want my kid to be straight because they're going to be happy. Well, no, they're not. Newsflash, because they're not attracted to any of the people that you're trying to set them up with, simply because they're not straight. And that's the thing. If you're a parent, like, you shouldn't have kids if you're not okay with your kids potentially being gay or potentially being like, I don't know, making mistakes in life, like not, like not being perfect. Not, that's not about being gay. Like, not a mistake. Not, no, 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 no. I'm just on a tangent here. If you're not okay with your kids not making mistakes, if you're not okay with your kids not being perfect, if you're not okay with your kids not fulfilling your expectations, if you're not okay with your kids not growing up to be what you want them to be, if you're not okay with your kids having their own desires, goals, and living their own life, if you're not okay with your kids being, gay or trans or whatever, you should not have kids, because it's not about you. Being a parent is, giving a life and giving a life to a person and supporting that person through becoming themselves in that life, not imposing onto them what they should be. If you're not okay with your kids not believing in religion while you're super religious, don't have kids. If you're not okay with your kids believing in religion while you're not religious, don't have kids, because they are their own person with their own beliefs, with their own worldview, and you should support them through that worldview. Like, of course, if they're harming others or harming themselves, like drugs or something like that, try to help them. But at the end of the day, if they don't want your help, then you're not going to help, So that's the thing. You should just be supportive in them finding out who they are. And you should be helpful if they get on like a path that destroys them. And here's the thing, like, if they become a drug addict, there is actually a serious chance that they're going to die. If they don't believe in God, no. If they're gay, no. And because I know that some people are going to argue that, like, oh, well, but like, being gay to some people is considered destructive and self-harmful, and so it's like being not religious and like blah blah blah. And it's like, no, it isn't, because like not being religious is not going to kill you. Being gay is not going to kill you. Being a drug addict will, and you are like quite literally destroying your internal organs. So yeah, there is that. But anyways, that is all I had for you for today, guys. Me and Cindy are going to are going to go on a long walkie. Let me see if I want to see if it's 11 when that store closes, but I've been giving myself motivation to go to this to go on long walkies to this one store, and it's so bad. And John was like, "Oh my gosh, that's horrible motivation. You should like find something better." But basically, I vape, which I don't recommend to anyone, which is why I never do it publicly, because I don't like, this is not some sort of a habit that I want to promote. It's a bad habit, but I used to smoke cigarettes, and this is my way of quitting. And because it's a war, there ain't no way I'm quitting nicotine in some sort of shape or form. But basically, there's this place. There is this place, and it's like 15 minutes that way and 15 minutes back. That's further away, that sells the flavor that I like, and it's a drag. It's a drag going there, but I do because I want to have an ability to have this like long walk, and this is and it's like further away, and Sydney gets like a longer exposure to these. Also, I am still figuring out the PO box situation, Drake. And I did change the Theragun on my wish list to something that actually ships to me. Except, unfortunately, wait. Oh, wait. Huh. Wait. Oh my God. Who got the Theragun? You guys. Which one of you did that? That is so incredibly nice, but which one of you did that? No, they're not closed. Wait, it wasn't even the one that it was like the original, the beige one. How? It's gone, I'm guessing. No, it. Who got the Theragun? Oh my God. Well, first of all, thank you very much. Second of all, who was this? And how did you manage? Because it wasn't like shipping, was it? My Aw. I have no idea. Oh my gosh. I have, like, my muscle sore is beyond belief. And this little thing. Secret Santa, Yulia. Veronica. The internet will never tell. It comes with a note. It comes with a note. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm gonna find out, but the beige will help so much more aesthetically. Yes, because not only, oh my gosh, Kat on TikTok says the beige will help so much more purely just on being beige. But yes, because it's not only going to help my muscles physically, it's also going to emotionally and mentally satisfy my desire for aesthetics. So yes, beige will help twice as much, because not only will it be helping my muscles, it's also going to be helping my worldview and outlook. so, so yeah. So there's that. But yes, confess and suffer your punishment. Nobody ordered. Nobody. What do you mean? It says that it is ordered. It shows as ordered. What do you mean? What do you mean nobody ordered it? It was ordered. It was ordered. It's not on there anymore. It's not on there anymore. Someone got it. Santa is real, Yulia. He ordered it. Wait, Kayla? You guys are confusing me. There are so many. I feel like all of you are making fun of me right now on like on all of these chats and all of these different social medias. But fine. You be like that. You make fun of me. But thank you. Also thank you. But also thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, Kayla said that she tried and you had to know my address to be able to order it. So it has to be someone who knows my address. You will just have to wait and see. We'll see. My money is, well, my money. I think it might have been Kayla, but whoever it was, thank you so very much, you guys. You are too sweet and too nice and too caring and too kind. And I don't know what I did to deserve such a great community, but whatever it was, I'm very thankful that, that you guys are here. And without you, there would never be this platform. And the news would not be spread. And yeah, I'm just, I'm really grateful to have you, and you guys are fantastic. And I really, really appreciate all of you. You built the community, silly. Well, that's not true. It's like without you, there wouldn't be this platform, like as in like I'm just a person sitting here and talking and and I'm just giving my take on the news. But if it wasn't for you, then I wouldn't have this platform and I wouldn't be able to express to so many people exactly what I think and my analysis and stuff like that. And I hope it's helpful. But the city, it built the city on rock and roll. Oh my gosh. Jason, ever since you talked about that, I want you to know that I'm never leaving, like that thing, John has been practicing singing it. And I'm sure he doesn't want anybody to know, but he has been practicing singing it. So just FYI. Oh. Happy little minions. Oh my god, you're not minions. You guys. Aw. Well, thank you. Also, C4Z3 Nova. How do I pronounce that? And also, what is your name? Because I need to refer to you as something, and every single time I don't know. Because it could be K. Oh, it's Casanova. Okay. But what's your name? Okay. Because see, like I haven't actually tried to read the whole thing. I was like, oh, numbers and stuff, and I was like, well, I don't know what to refer to you as, so I'm just gonna like not. But it makes sense that I know your name, so I can refer to you as something. Okay, Armin's quote of the day is up. Samuel Johnson wrote, "There are in every age new errors to be rectified and new prejudices to be opposed. Homophobia is just another in a long list of bigotries good people have had to fight." Yes, I agree with that. Thank you for this quote. And I like that this quote is actually, also, it's different today. I like it. The majority of people belong to some minority. Well, yeah, that's true. But like at the same time, the majority of people do belong to some minority, right? But there are minorities that are being prosecuted and discriminated on harder. And at the end of the day, people like me, even as an immigrant, right? I am the minority in terms of being an immigrant, and I have issues that American citizens will never have to face, right? But at the same time, I am a white woman with like higher education. So, and I'm straight and I'm cisgender. So it's like, I do enjoy a lot of privileges that other people don't, right? So it's like, it's a slippery slope because there is, certain, sure, but there are minorities and there are majorities that on an institutional level, and like nobody is gonna discriminate you for being, being, I don't know, like someone who likes to eat who's like, what was it, fruitarian or something like that? Like the people who literally just eat fruit, right? Like that's a minority, but you're not gonna get, you're not gonna get like not accepted to college. Anyways, we rock the green card. Okay. All right, guys. Sin is, come here. Sin is right here, staring right at me. Gremlin is really upset. So, and I need to eat dinner really quick before I walk her, because if I don't eat dinner, I'm just not going to be able to walk near me as far. So we're going to go have some food and we're going to go on a walkie. And thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. I shall see you tomorrow, probably like at some point for like a chit chat live. But tomorrow is the day. I'm actually going to try and release an interesting 5-minute video for YouTube tomorrow that has to do with debunking some things that a celebrity has said about Ukraine, particularly about Zelensky. And I'm going to try and release that tomorrow. And on Monday, brief, as per usual. And yeah, so I shall see you on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am going to be live tomorrow at some point just to like kind of chit chat. And I'm also going to try and release the YouTube video. So if you don't follow me on YouTube still, which why don't you? Why don't you? You should find me at YEWLEEA. If you didn't hear that, it's the same as this without it's. And you can also go into link in my bio on Twitter and TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And my social medias are all linked. So go to YouTube and follow me. I will check. And I will be trying to release a new video tomorrow. Okay. All right, guys. It was great to see you. Me and Cindy are going to go on a walkie and eat some food, and I shall see you. Later. Bye, guys. You're fantastic. Brian. Okay.